So, good morning, everyone, um, to this month's weekend retreat at Kalalgoda, held by Ajahn Brahm Society, Sri Lanka. And so now it's the time to listen to some Dhamma, and let me start with Namo Tassa first. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. So, dear Dhamma friends, so for today's Dhamma talk, I've been thinking what could be a suitable topic, and someone actually even suggested me to talk about or talk around this topic of practicing middle way. So as Buddhists, we heard a lot about middle way. We know we have some idea where the middle way, the middle path lies. By definition, you see, Lord Buddha says the Noble Eightfold Path is the middle way, and so you give up this thing called like self-deprivation, self-mortification sorts of practices. Of course, not like back in the days in India, but in today's context also, we still tend to practice these things take our practice into a little more extreme. And the other extreme would be this sensory indulgence, which are also fun at the beginning, but at the end, you see the emptiness and you sort of lose mindfulness and sort of this blurriness and this sense of emptiness in it. You end up with that feeling, and you lose that clarity. You don't see clearly. Sometimes even not just Dhamma practice, but even in day-to-day situations, your senses, your sort of this ability to think straight and critically also can deprive by that. So we know there is this middle ground which we can abide in general as lay people, and it's not that it's a mix of that and mix of the other thing. So we kind of take like 50% also, like a little bit of this, little of that, mix of that is middle way. It's not like that. I didn't mean that, but sometimes it, in certain contexts maybe um, you have to do that too. But in a more stricter sense, there is this standard Lord Buddha set. Now, namely, it's the Eightfold Path, but if we sort of summarize that, what the teachers teaches us, that there is this, I would like to quote this classic saying of, I think it's from Ajahn. So there are these two sources of meditation. If it is not Ajahn, it must be Ajahn Brahm. So two sources of meditation. The second noble truth type of meditation, and the third noble truth type of meditation. So if I explain that first, that so avijja, I mean this not knowing what's going on in our mind, and tanha, this attachment, this attaching, and this greed, or this tanha, there are these different manifestation, different levels of manifestation of the same problem. Because of those two, uh, the whole problem of the existence in samsara happens according to Lord Buddha. So working on tanha is a very important problem. So a very important thing. So um, noble, actually the Four Noble Truths in that regard is very key aspect of all this practice. Now, Noble Eightfold Path in general, as I said before, can take as middle way, but even within that Noble Eightfold Path, um, whole path relies upon the first factor of Eightfold Path, which is the right view. Uh, the right view practically uh, points to the Four Noble Truths. There is this problem, and there is this reason for this problem, which is tanha. And if you take away that reason, the dukkha will go away. And there is this set of things we can do to achieve that goal. So two types of practice. So you end up going towards tanha, or you actually, if you can actively go away from tanha, letting go attachments, like emptying, um, you know, letting go, unburdening yourself. That basically that's third noble truth practice. That's the meditation leads to third noble truth. So samadhi, if we simplify what the samadhi says, it's basically you go towards third noble truth, which is uh, letting go, letting go of attachments and simplifying things. You go from this cluttered to uncluttered sort of a situation. Uh, so middle way. Now there is this there's one sutta I would like to use it as an anchor for today's talk. So before I read out that sutta to you, if I give a little bit of a background. Now we do have, we've been practicing certain meditation objects, anapanasati. Sometimes we were told to develop metta. Sometimes you hear asubha practice as well. Sometimes some teachers says, okay, how about being equanimous, being sort of a, you are not like involving. You sort of try to be basically practice equanimity, be equanimous. So, but you see, practice also. Uh, when you practice with these things, when you put more hours into this practice and really accompany these things in the day-to-day situation, especially as monastics, we see sometimes we go a little sort of off the mark, or let's go overboard with these things also. Now, if I give a few examples, say the metta, for instance. Now, Ajahn Chah would say, oh, actually, yeah, this is not Ajahn Chah, this is Ajahn Huang. His name is Ajahn Huang Jotigo. Uh, uh, People who knows Ajahn Jeff, that's Ajahn Jeff's one of Ajahn Jeff's teachers, Ajahn Jeff Tanisaro. So So he says, okay, developing metta is good, develop that, but be careful not to develop the metta in a way you end up falling into the well. What does he mean by that is that now metta, you sort of you develop these qualities, you try to help people, you try to be friendly, and all this sort of all this spectrum of emotions we extend towards someone when we say metta. Uh, that can easily slip into these fringes of unwholesomeness also. Uh, Now the simile is, according to Ajahn form, is that you find someone fell into a well, and you want to help that person, he or she, you want to help her out, basically. So you extend your arm, but you have to be careful, because that's a well, and when you're trying to get that person out, you might end up like falling into the well as well. That's the risk. So, and sometimes it has happened in both lay situation and monastic situations. So, because the people, the weaknesses and uh, this this these things happen. So I think it was like a real warning for monks. I'm sure there is a context for that. It wasn't like it by all means in every context Ajahn Fuang meant that. But there are certain cases, but why he uh, said it that way is not mentioned in that account itself. But as a general rule, he, he has said that be careful. That's about metta. Now, how about asubha? Now, asubha meditation also, Lord Buddha says in Iti Uttaka, if I remember correctly, if you develop asubha alongside with anapanasati, it's very powerful. Lord Buddha says, but you see, in certain cases, in certain situations, actually asubha can go wrong. Asubha has gone wrong uh, not because of the practice of in and itself some sort of a problem in it, but how people sort of develop these things, that's a problem, right? Like Lord Buddha says, okay, develop these practices, but we end up like going off the mark, and uh, because all these practices uh, get the appropriate meaning, and given the fact that this right view is at the background. So if the right view is at the background, which is you're supposed to go towards letting go, simplifying things, decluttering things, then whatever you do, that sort of acquires the real meaning. If there's something sort of lacking in the right view, or effectively wrong view, that means the practices you sort of you do sometimes can go wrong. So it's partially a trial and error thing. You can't sort of get the right view correct first and do these practices. It's a you listen to Dhamma, you listen to people who has done these practices, and heed all the cautionary tales and stuff. Try to be careful, and but bit by bit you take your risk and sort of discover all these um, things. That's also necessary, because ultimately we take the responsibility, um, um, and it's a natural process of learning. Hence this three phases Lord Buddha says: Asada, Adinava, and Nisarna. Now you see the fun side of it. You see the happy aspect of it, but you start to see, okay, it comes with a drawback as well. It's not like this one single thing I can sort of extract the pure happiness out of it, but it is attached to something. You go to the supermarket, you buy something, and there's this packet of detergent or something kind of taped around it. So if you buy that, you buy that, you get that too actually. Um, in a way, these are like kind of this, like, yeah, they're coupled. You can't sort of uncouple these things. I mean, except the supermarkets. So, uh, right view is very important. So, asuka practice. There is this well-known story. It's in the Vinaya. So, I've told this story before. In a previous retreats, that one time. Lord Buddha was about to enter Rain's retreat with some monks, and they were at this riverbank, Vagumuda, and Lord Buddha at that time advising monks to practice asupa, and then he decides, okay, for the next 3 months, I'm going on retreat, and no one can see me except the monk who brings Pindapata to him. So uh, he, Lord Buddha would do this thing. It's not only one time, but you see here and there in the suttas. He has done these personal retreats, so to speak, time to time. So he went on retreat. Then the story says that monks had been practicing asuba so much that they start like this, they were like disgusted by their own bodies, like aversion towards it. They wanted to get rid of it, basically commit suicide. So so one by one started committing suicide. Some monks actually hired, I don't know how did they do that, but they sort of got someone else to sort of uh, kill oneself. So basically, there were days actually, 2 3 months would die, 4 5 6 7 10. So the numbers goes on, according to this story. Uh, then after the retreat, Lord Buddha, comes out of the retreat. He meets the sangha. He sees that there are not many monks in the group. Actually, he asked from Venerable Anand, what happened? What's going on? And Venerable Anand says, Bhante, this happened, and they committed suicide, and then Lord Buddha immediately convened a meeting, and immediately he changes the meditation object. He says, you know, to get rid of any akusala, developing anapanasati is very useful. And he explains the anapanasati kamata. So this is regarding this killing. So I guess because of that, this is the background story for this third parajika. Was it the third parajika? Yes, and actually second parajika in monks Vinaya. So it's a well known and sort of it's a well known story. So you can clearly see if if I mean they've been doing they had been doing asubha in a wrong way. I mean, we are not supposed to get get depressed and sort of commit suicide in the middle of Eightfold Path, right? So we're supposed to understand these things, and the thing things getting lighter and lighter and lighter, and less aversion to things, and the enlightenment happens. So clearly, then they went overboard, and Lord Buddha basically changes the Kamatana. So Asubha can sometimes go wrong, and there are like recent past stories also, like sometimes like monks uh, who did like Asubha, like maybe too much, like went sort of crazy practically. So Asubha is another example, like the things can go imbalance. Now sometimes upekka, we are told to sort of practice upekka, the equanimity. Just watch whatever comes to your mind, and yes, things will fall into places. Yes, that's also important teaching, like the metta or the asubha. It has its function, but sometimes you just choose this upekka object, the upekka sanya, or this practice at the wrong time. You end up like not doing some, there's a certain kilesa, arise of this defilement coming up, but there are these certain things you can do, but somehow you choose not to do anything, but still you are watching it. And sometimes these objects, these kilesas, these are also mental objects, right? Like these defilements. They have so much gravity. If I give a simile of analogy of a gravity, they have so much gravity that it'll end up sucking you into that object, because these are like strong urges, strong kilesas, not just ordinary stuff. A lust comes, um, and you have to be really careful as a monk, so not to sort of sucked into that black hole. So sometimes you sort of you have to sort of come away, go away from that object, not just sort of wait and see what will happen. These objects can be very powerful and very sort of deluding. So in certain cases, the upekka wouldn't cut, it wouldn't work. Uh, so instead of like taking up this one practice, uh, thinking that it would work across the board, the right attitude should be, I mean, the the thing we're supposed to do is explained in right. What the right says that things, the unwholesome qualities hasn't arisen. You make sure that it won't arise, and whatever the whole unwholesome already arisen, you make sure that it'll sort of go away. You sort of discourage it, like make it vanish. On the other hand, whatever the wholesomeness hasn't, uh, you know, arise, hasn't arisen, uh, you try to sort of arouse that wholesomeness, and whatever the wholesome qualities now sort of you have right now, you try to sort of develop on it. You try to sort of build up on it, sort of make it bigger. So that's effectively what we're supposed to do. If that thing is at the background, that's also the part. That also explains what the samadhi means. Basically, the samadhi basically translates translated into like the four right effort there. Okay, you're supposed to be, or you're supposed to go towards the letting go. That's the ditti. But how you're going to do it? Okay, try to sort of arouse these wholesome qualities, discourage this unwholesome qualities. That's the right effort. It's translated basically into this effort paradigm, effort way of thinking. So if we uh, if we really see in terms of right effort, or whatever all these practices we are we are doing, then it'll be easy for us to sort of have a have a judgment whether this particular practice is the right thing to do at this moment. I don't know actually. It might work, it might not work sometimes. So then you end up like having these sort of a malfunctions, and you take this particular tool, but it doesn't work, and you end up even getting into trouble. So in that context, I would like to read out this sutta and sort of explain it further. So this sutta is in the Anguttara fives, group of five. So it's Tikandaki Sutta. So it was given at Tikandaki village, maybe. So I'm reading Ajahn Sujato's translation at Sutta Central. I quote, at one time, the Buddha was staying near Saketa in Tikandaki wood. There, the Buddha addressed the mendicants. Venerable Sir, they replied, the Buddha said this. The mendicants means bhikkhus, yeah? So that's how Ajahn Sujato translates bhikkhus. Mendicants. A mendicant would do well to mediate from time to time, perceiving the following. So this is rather abstract teaching. So time to time, Lord Buddha asks us to take up one of these positions. Now, so this is a list of five. There are these five positions or five things we can do. So it sounds abstract, but I'll explain it later. So the first thing, you practice the repulsive. You take the perception of repulsive in the unrepulsive. In Pali, it is you take the asubha sanya towards something subha. So you practice asubha on subha. And the second one, you practice subha or repulsive in unrepulsive. I hope I got it kind of because it's like this combination. So the first of all, it is asubha in subha, and the second is subha in asubha. So, and the third one is you take subha. Actually, you take asubha in both subha and asubha. There are objects of subha or asubha. For the both of those, you treat as asubha. And the fourth, basically, you treat both subha and asubha objects as subha. And fifth, the sutta says, a mendicant would do well to mediate from time to time, staying equanimous, mindful and aware, rejecting both the repulsive and the unrepulsive. So if I explain what I just read, so time to time, the mind basically takes up, got a hold onto this perception of subha. There are these certain things, if you have this feeling, this perception, the way of looking at this thing, if you perceive it in that way, it will arouse lust. So basically, that's that's um, so in that, if you perceive that thing as subha, as beautiful, that will lead to lust. So the solution would be in that case that you perceive the unattractiveness, the repulsiveness of it, just to counter uh, that lust or any unwholesome thoughts. So there are things like that. So, for an example, a person we will perceive as an attractive person, or any other thing which will get us into trouble, or act an inappropriate way. So instead of you sort of succumb to this subhasanya of that object, you take up the asubhasanya, which is sort of a classic example. The second case is that there are objects appear in the mind, which is unattractive, which is asubha. Like for an instance, you feel sort of annoyed and upset and angry towards something or somebody. So that's also an asubha sanya. Now, at this moment, I should clarify that when, in this context, when Lord Buddha says subha or asubha, it doesn't mean that, the asubha of the body or something. It is that this basically this negative aspect, or the aspects of drawback, that's the thing we pay attention to. So for an attractive thing, so you take the actively take the unattractive thing, just to counter that lust. For an attractive thing, we counter that with a attractive thing, just to counter that hatred, or that those sort of that annoyance, that negativity. Uh, Example would be metta, or sometimes you contemplate that as in terms of elements, dhatu manasikara. Basically, change the perception. Sometimes it is asubha in nature. You attend to a person, a sick person, then it can be sometimes a little difficult because of the repulsive things. Sometimes we sometimes handle due to that. But if you sort of have that metta, or like sense of like, okay, these are just four elements, then you sort of take away that asubha sanya, and take up the subha sanya. So you see, time to time you take up this subha or asubha, depends on the situation. I think now it's clear. So the third one, Buddha says, for subha and asubha nature of objects, for both of those, you just take asubha sanya. Sometimes it may be subha or asubha, fine, um, but you contemplate them as anicca. That's also asubha sanya. It's because it's a little kind of the drawback aspect of it, the downside of it. You sort of contemplate that aspect. You take up that negative aspect, but which will lead to a wholesome situation. It's anicca. The both of them are anicca. Yeah, it's a mixed bucket of um, you know happiness is, and I mean the happiness and sort of suffering. But yeah, all of them, it's anicca. One day, you can write books about these things, and talk hours and hours about it, but it's all anicca. After a few years or so, yeah, you don't want to sort of be bothered by that. That sort of attitude, for an instance. So it's just anicca. Sometimes, okay, the fourth one again, there are these subha things and the asubha things, which you can treat them as both of them as with the subha sanya, like group of people, people who we live with sometimes, in a family, in a workplace or something. And there are both types of people, but for all, we treat them as metta. Um, so that would be an example. So asubha or subha, you sort of take the subha sanya. So so I mentioned the first four, and the fifth one is that Lord Buddha says, okay, there are times actually just just give up taking up this subha or asubha sanya. You are not like actively taking any of those sanya, but you try to be equanimous. You just see things as they are. Try to see things as they are, like form as a form, a sound as a sound, a thought as thought. Because if you're mindful enough, if you have enough energy, you will have that perspective. You will not sort of succumb to that object. You keep the gap between that mental object and the knowing aspect of your mind. Ajahn Brahm says the knower, and just observe it. A good example would be sometimes, like, say you have a feeling of guilt, something going on in your mind for a while, and you try to sort of the mind says something, or you did this, and you also try to sort of mend the situation. So you basically tell to your mind that I did this, and I apologized, and I did this, I helped people out. So yeah, but the mind will still sort of tell you something. Oh, but but you shouldn't have done that or something like that. So this conversation back and forth would go on and on and on, because the mind, because that's also part of the attachment. The mind wouldn't let go. So there are sometimes actually, once you know you did what you could, but the mind would throw at this sort of a sense of guilt again and again and again. Then it's a time of sort of, okay, say whatever you want, I'll be just kind of quiet. So don't get into chat with that guy. That at that time, the mind just want to sort of annoy you. You say something. Like you sort of minding your business and doing something, but the mind would sort of start whining about something. So let it whine. Don't do anything. You don't have to actively take metta or like asubho or anything. Just sort of leave it as it is. It'll die out by itself. So that it's also necessary sometimes to understand, because uh, otherwise we will keep, if we talk to, if you have that conversation in your mind, it'll go on this vicious circle. It'll kind of you can't sort of talk or convince that sort of a mind. So you have to be careful about these things. So so time to time, a lot of the says, we should be skilled in these things. Now, in Thai forest tradition, you hear a similar teaching by Ajahn Chah, like um, how to sort of be in the middle, because uh, what this sutta tells us, that we sometimes deviate from the middle time to time. The middle ground should be this wholesome, this flavor of letting go, simplicity, less clutter, that sort of a peaceful sort of situation, lack of hindrances, but thoughts come and sort of we lean towards something. So we see a thought came, we sort of we basically lean towards that one. That's basically raga. So what we're supposed to do, sort of it's like this, these days, this space technology, like this sort of a fire a rocket that way, and what do you call, like what do you do? Like you kind of get the ship back to on course, right? So it's sort of like and sort of you kind of get to the course, and in a few minutes time maybe you see again you lean towards this way, and what we do basically do the reverse of it. So again we come back to the middle. But you see, this is basically Lord Buddha explaining like how to be in the middle in a more sort of more practical way, not just sort of like more abstract way of saying like, okay, the Noble Eightfold Path as a middle way, but we can boil down to those five scenarios, whatever we experience in day-to-day situations. So if we can sort of find that wholesome middle ground by taking up these practices, that's basically you're practicing middle way. So Ajahn Chah, so there's this story that usually, even to this day, the senior monks in Wat Pah Pong, particularly the abbot, is always accompanied by some monks, people who give, attending to him and would like to listen to teaching. So there's always like an entourage of monks with the senior monk. So I can imagine Ajahn Chah also uh, uh, accompanied like that. So he was in his kuti. Monks were attending to him, giving him like foot massage or something. And that's the time to ask a question from these senior monks. So one monk asked the question, and Ajahn Chah answered to it. And this other monk who was there noticed that noticed something and asked this question from Ajahn Chah. So he says, Ajahn, Lumpo, when this Venerable asked this question right now, you answered like this. But when I asked that question the other day, you answered like that. So how can I understand this, this discrepancy? Because you see time to time, there are these mixed messages sometimes, even in the suttas. If you see some suttas, Lord Buddha says, okay, go to forest, live in the forest, you develop, it's such a marvelous way of like living in the forest, so it kind of it encourages us to go to forest and practice in the forest. But if you see some other suttas, Lord Buddha says, okay, have your samadhi before going to forest. And sometimes he says to Venerable Upali, actually Venerable Upali asked Lord Buddha, Bhante, can I go to the forest? He says, no, don't go to forest. Be with the Sangha. Upali, if you live with the Sangha, you will thrive, he says. And of course, he did became an arahant and became the foremost monk of the Vinaya teachers. So you see time to time, these suttas, one sutta says this, one sutta says that. The Vinaya says for junior monks to stay 5 years at least with the teachers. But the sutta says, go to forest, go to forest. So if we sort of read this thing, you might end up going to forest as a monk prematurely, and that can be a little disastrous, in my opinion. So, so, so you see that thing in the sutras now. Now the same question asked uh, um, from Ajahn Shah. So basically, Ajahn, you said this, but previously you said that. How should I understand this? And Ajahn Chah says, okay, whatever I said to this monk is correct. Whatever I told to you that day also correct. And the doubt you have right now is also a fair one. And he then gives a simile. They are sitting in the kuti, facing outwards, facing the path leading to the kuti. It's a raised path. Uh, so Ajahn Shah says, imagine someone coming to my, supposed to come to my kuti, someone coming towards my kuti. So, that this monk comes, he is coming, basically following that sort of a raised path. And you see that monk sort of go off the course and start sort of go towards to the left. And if I see someone, what should I say? No, I say, if someone going towards the left, I say, go to the right. Okay, no, don't go to left. No, go to right, go to right. And that means that monk will go to right, and again hits the raised path. The path supposed to come to the kuti. Leads to the kuti. And there's a second monk actually coming towards the kuti, and this time that monk going off to the right side. So then what the Ajahn is supposed to say? Okay, go to left. Go to left, go to left. So that means the monk will come back, take the left direction and come back and hit the this path towards kuti. So given where we are in our situation, the instruction also differs. So sometimes Lord Buddha says to go to left, sometimes Lord Buddha says to go to right. That doesn't mean that he's sort of self-contradicting or anything. There's a context to it always. And to the same person, sometimes time to time, Lord Buddha would say, okay, now go to left and then go to right. So it's not something like to be confused. So because that's that instruction is always relative to whatever you are experiencing right now. So taking up an asubha for subha, or taking up subha for asubha, all these practices are relative to your mindset right now. If you are not in the center, if you are lean towards something, that means you have to take up these things. So, and even you took up this practice and you sort of effectively developing this new perception towards something, and still you pay attention to what's going on in your mind, because that instruction also relative, that also has some sort of like a date of expiry, time of expiry, if you like. Let's say that monk kind of astray, went kind of veered off to the left. Ajahn Chah said, okay, come to right. So then that monk came to right and hit this path. And that monk, in this case, continuously go to right now. What will happen? Again, now it's kind of missing the middle mark, and now it's kind of going right side, right side. Now it's kind of the right extreme. And then the same monk has to sort of instructed that okay, now go to left, go to left. So sometimes it's go to right, sometimes go to left, because of this middle path we're supposed to take. So all these instructions just to sort of get us to the middle path. In and itself, these instructions sometimes doesn't mean doesn't meant to be like practiced indefinitely. These are perceptions. So teachers call this phenomena, or this sort of aspect of practice as uh, changing perceptions. You know, there are so many perceptions on the shelf of supermarket. There's this simile Ajahn Brahm said once to monks. You know, you go to the supermarket and there are so many variety of a particular food, or you know, there's so many things to buy. So uh, if you know actually what to buy, you know what suits you, you know, then you know you can do that. So so we should understand how this, you know, how the mind behaves, and develop that skill to take up a one tool and use it until you come to the middle, and then you let it go and be in the middle. And you know, then you again like found yourself again, like, you know, went weird off, and then again you use another tool appropriately. Bhante Nanda, my teacher who ordained me, used to say that all these practices are relative and pragmatic, or practical, if I rephrase it. So all these practices are relative, like how we know how, the way I demonstrated, and pragmatic or practical. That means that it serves a purpose. It's not that because of you know the quality it has in an itself, uh, you know, leads us to do that. But we all do all these things just for the practical end of being in the middle, being in the center, being in the wholesome ground. So it's a good teaching, and it kind of explains, you know, and put into perspective all these instructions, even seemingly confusing instructions, teachers, or you know, you see in the suttas also. And being in the middle way is a real art, I would say. So you read your mind, time to time you take up these things. There are many things, you know, once you start picking up these things, you know, this, how can you sort of counter a certain mindset. You can sort of uh, so you see there's suffering coming up, and you can counter it like nicely, just to kind of gain the balance back by using this thing. But um, if Lord Buddha, you know, this is the way Lord Buddha mentioned this thing, very sort of a more kind of a brief way, by using these terms subha and asubha. So I think uh, uh, this will encourage you all to sort of think about this practice, and think about your own practice, all these sort of instructions, and how to sort of accompany, how to develop these things, so you can sort of develop that right effort, you know, be in the wholesome, you know, um, sort of get rid of the unwholesome. I hope this will help. So I would like to wish you good luck with your practice, and so I'll finish my talk with this. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening. Uh, yes, yes, it is. Okay, so now, Indira wanted to sort of comment regarding the, you know, what I've said. So yes, she says, you know, it's also, you know, you need wisdom, so as to understand, you know, just to kind of guide you with your practice. You know, if you don't have wisdom, you know, you might sort of get these things wrong. Am I right? Yes. Thank you. Yes. Is there anything else? Okay. So, yes. Well, middle path itself is foolproof. That's why it is called middle path and sort of the noble eightfold path. If you somehow get stuck in a as you sort of ask, okay, maybe I should repeat the question perhaps. But okay, Mahathir, did you say like this the dukkha and sukha, like kind of that bit I couldn't hear. Yes, they are not. Okay, now I think I understand. So yes, so yes, Mahatma is asking, according to the teachings, there's this sukha, this Atthakilmatana yoga and the Kamsukhalikana yoga is supposed to avoid, not to kind of stuck in, and then so therefore we take the middle path, but even the middle path can one get stuck. His concern was that like in a jhana situation, people get stuck in a jhana, even might not want to sort of advance further to another jhana or maybe wisdom as well. I think that's what he tried to tell. So basically, is there something like go beyond of the middle path? So yeah, I should answer like both yes and no. If I say, if I explain the yes, now a noble eightfold path, the first eight sort of aspects, once you develop, you eventually, this eventually leads to uh, the samma jnana and samma vimukti. Like, samma ditti to samma samadhi, which is the first eight, that's the eightfold path, and with that, that leads to sammajnana, which is the ninth, this is right knowledge, and the 10th has samma vimukti, which is the right liberation. That means the liberation exactly what the Lord Buddha meant. There are many liberations one can achieve from meditations. If you develop Kundalini, develop some sort of a Mahamudra, or, Dzogchen or something, you get some sort of a liberation. There are liberations, but there is this Samma liberation, if I say that. So there's this particular liberation Lord Buddha wanted us to have. So therefore this Sammajnana and Samma Vimukti. Once you get to that point, basically you've gone beyond middle path in that sense. You become an aseka. You are no longer a trainee. You reach the destination. So but uh, in that sense you go beyond the middle path, but you are still in the center. Uh, you are, of course, there are no sort of unwholesome sort of a situation for us. It's like a little kind of permanent abiding in the center. But time to time, you sort of develop satipatthana, so just kind of keep the mind bright, and you develop jhanas just to sort of as a happy abiding. But you are in the center. On top of that, you can have those luxuries, those practices. So you are in the center. You are no longer practicing Eightfold Path in that regard, but you are still in that territory, taking up these practices as an arahant. So that's yes about going beyond the Eightfold Path. What I meant by no is that the middle way, when Lord Buddha says middle way, that means letting go, the third noble truth, um, contentment, lightening up yourself, lessening the hindrances, developing the seven awakening factors or the bojjhangas. Basically, you are in the bright side. of the mental qualities, the wholesome, in the wholesome territory. And you do experience jhanas, and if the jhana is supported by samadhi, or the right view, the jhana also will be the right jhana, not just ordinary jhana. Partially you have that, partially, that what that means, that you have the right attitude, or you relate to these things or these practices in a proper way. You have the perspective, you have the nibbana as your goal, but this is something which leads to that goal. So if you have that attitude, the right attitude, not letting go to the max until the end. Lord Buddha, as a bodhisattva, he encountered these teachers. He learned up to neva sanya na sanya. Neva sanya na sanya, neither perception, neither, yeah. So yeah, neither perception, no perception. Yes, I don't recall the English translation of it. So neva sanya na sanya. That's actually very subtle and very high sort of a mind state. When Ananda asked from Lord Buddha, okay, apart from Nibbana, what's the next best thing? What's the next best liberation? Lord Buddha says, Neva Sanya, Na Sanya. So, as Bodhisattva, he's been experienced this thing, but he understood actually there's something still sort of, you hang on to. There's sometimes this, when you look at a certain way, you see a perception, and you look at another way, you don't see the perception. But there is this sense of perception. So he wanted to let go of that as well, because he had that right view. It's not that what you have right now, but if you have the right view, it will eventually take you away from it. So the middle path, the middle way in itself is foolproof, given the fact, given that you have the right view. Uh, but as you said, like practically, we don't master right view first and sort of, get into this jhana sometimes. But eventually, if you practice it correctly, if you have kalyana mittas, you listen to teachers, and you contemplate, as Indira pointed out, as like have your wisdom also, it will lead towards that goal. But I mean, stucking in a jhana also such a wonderful situation to be with, given all this sort of, this rubbish bin of, situations we kind of live, most of us. So, but eventually it'll take, it's just like a transit, I would say. Yes. I think, yeah. So, thank you again, and have a nice day. So.